Welcome to Roundtable, everybody. The NFL's NPFL, not the NFL, the NPFL, the National Professional Fishing League's podcast pregame show for all our tournament coverage. Right now, we are at Lake Norman in North Carolina. We're in Huntersville, and we're in the NPFL studios, as you can see. This is just the second time that Roundtable has been broadcast from the studio, and I'm really excited about that. My name is Ken Duke. We're at the 4 Points by Sheraton Hotel in Huntersville, North Carolina for stop number 2 of the 2025 season. And competition begins tomorrow, Wednesday, April 16th. It's going to run through Friday, the 18th. Today was the third and final day of official practice. And my guest, Harmon Davis from Marlow, Oklahoma. Harmon, welcome to Roundtable.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
Appreciate your being here. You know, I got to know Harmon a little bit at the very first tournament, stop number 1 out at Santee Cooper in South Carolina. And Harmon is fishing his very first year with the NPFL. And what does he do on day 1 of his very first NPFL tournament? Well, he goes out and he catches a 10-pound, 9-ounce largemouth bass that ties him for the largest ever caught in NPFL history. Now, Harmon, that is a heck of a way to start your NPFL career.
It was awesome to get that bite. Just wish I'd had 3 more to go with it. So
yeah, Harmon only caught 2 fish that day. I think he had 13 and change coming in.
Yes, sir.
So not quite what you were hoping for, but an absolute beast of a fish. And as I say, the tied for the biggest ever in NPFL history. Yes, the only one that was as big was caught by Jesse Wise in the NPFL championship at Lake Amistad early in the 2024 year. And actually, we are fortunate enough to have a video clip from your GoPro on day 1. So let's see if we can get that queued up right now so folks can see the fish that Harmon Davis caught. Take us through it a little bit, Harmon. You got a hook set.
It was just a matter of just getting to her, before, because she was up underneath all those dead hyacinths. She wasn't coming out of it,
So it's a bunch of matted hyacinths that you're fishing there. And I believe you told me,
Thank you.
What a fish. What a fish. I believe you told me that the hyacinth mat was much bigger in practice, but we had a lot of heavy winds at Santee, and it blew away a lot of your cover.
About 80% of it. There was about a 100-yard mat that was setting over 7 foot of water. And when I got in there the last day, it was just one about 20-yard section left, and that's what she came out of. And the second day, I lost an 8-pounder out of the same mat. So.
What a fish! What a fish! 10 pounds, 9 ounces. Like you said, if you had a limit that day, 5 fish, you'd have certainly clipped 20 pounds.
Yes,
and would have put you in a much better position. But 13 with tournament big fish is still awfully impressive.
It was a good start. Yes.
Yeah,
a lot better than catching 2 for 5 pounds.
There, exactly, which is probably what I would have done if I'd even caught 2. So you can't complain about that. And I want to get into that fish. I want to get into the techniques you use to catch that fish. But first, I want to offer a little bit of your background, because although you're fishing your first year with NPFL, it is by no means your first year as a professional touring bass angler. You've been at this off and on for a long time.
I fished the FLW Tour for 6 years, and then I made a choice to walk away from fishing completely for 12 years to raise my oldest son. So I raised him, and I've got a 11-year-old now, but it's just I kind of worked my way back in slowly, and it just exploded right back into this. And so NPFL had something I really wanted to be a part of this year. So I really like the no forward-facing sonar. Just a good group of guys, and I feel like this is the track that I wanted to take. So,
well, we're excited that you're here, and you sure started things off with a bang, and that was very impressive. And you've got a great track record. I mean, you fished nearly 100 events with FLW through the years. You fished the All-American. You fished a couple of Forest Wood Cups. In 2003, you darn near won the Forest Wood Cup, and that would have been a life-changing experience.
It would have, but right after that, I had to make that decision whether I was going to raise my kids or keep traveling. So after a lot of years of looking back at it and kind of questioning why, I think it was done to help me make the right decision to raise my son, because I have a special relationship with him, and I wouldn't trade it for any amount of money or anything. So.
I've known a lot of bass pros through the years. And one of the regrets I hear a lot from those guys who have spent 20, 30, or more years on the tour is that they missed too much of their home life. They missed too much of the kids growing up and the baseball games and the proms or the graduations and stuff like that. So I congratulate you on making that choice. And I'm glad that you now have the opportunity to get back into pro fishing, because you obviously are a highly skilled angler.
Yeah, I'm glad I got the chance to. And my 11-year-old now, he's my biggest fan. So
That's wonderful.
Well, he would be watching right now, but he's playing a baseball game. So, but I talked to him and got his approval before I made this choice. That's how much his opinion matters to me.
Well, that's wonderful. And he'll have a chance to watch this recorded later, either on the National Professional Fishing League.com website or on YouTube. So he'll have a chance to see Dad having to deal with my questions, which is probably a lot easier than going out and trying to catch 10-pounders.
And this is one thing I want to say. Bill Lowen and I talked about this at the Classic, is he'll get to come to Eufaula for the tournament days, but then the whole family's going to New York with me, and NPFL is the only circuit where he can actually get in the boat with me and go practice with me. And Bill's son's getting to do it, and no other circuit allows that. And it's an experience to give them that just know what you can't have at any other circuit. So.
And I don't understand why a lot of other circuits don't do that. They're clearly not as family friendly in that respect. I mean, what are they worried about? Are they worried that Harmon Davis is going to try to adopt Kevin Van Dam? I'm not sure what the concern is there, but I do appreciate the fact that you have that opportunity, and it does make it a more family friendly league. And I think that's important. And I think there's a character and an integrity and a family attitude at NPFL that I don't see other places. And I've worked for all the leagues.
Yes.
At one time or another. So welcome. Yep. Welcome here. That's we're awfully glad to have you. Now, Santee, you did catch big fish, did not have the overall performance maybe you were looking for. I think you finished 49th.
49th, yes.
In the event, but hey, the field has never been tougher in the NPFL than it is right now. And a 49th place finish out of 118 anglers is nothing to be ashamed of. You still picked up a lot of really good AOY points there. Yes, what are your goals for this season?
Well, the main goal is to make the championship. I told my wife the other day, if I can cash 3 checks and be in contention to win once and make the championship, I'd be really happy with my year. So it wasn't a bomb. I mean,
no, by no means.
And of all the years I've traveled and fished, I'd never been to Santee, and I'd heard so many bad stories about just getting around. And so to come out of there like I did, and like I said, it was just, I did okay the second and third day. I had 16 pounds both days. If I would have just caught that, 3 more fish the first day, I'd have been fine. So
yeah, you'd have probably bumped yourself up into the top 25 anyway.
Yes,
and that's great. But 49th is not a disaster.
No,
that's not by any means a
starting point.
Yeah, there you go. How do you like the rest of the schedule? At least once this year, we're going to come fairly close to home for you. We'll be at Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma in a few months.
That's no guarantee for me, because Eufaula and I have a love-hate relationship. I either do really well or really bad there, and June's a tough time of the year. So hopefully we'll get some rain, the water will be up. This tournament, it's timing-wise, it's as good as it could be for me. And Douglas, I'm excited about. I fished the All-American there a couple of years ago, and I think it was a week later, but I made a top 10 there, had a really good tournament.
Oh, fantastic.
St. Lawrence, I've never been there. I'm excited about that, especially with a no forward-facing sonar and the fact that we're going out of Messina. So I think it's going to be a different perspective on it. And then the last one in Alabama in August, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be a bad tournament. And if I'm going to be in contention to win one, that'll probably be the one, because that's usually the tournaments I do well in.
All right. Now the way you're describing things, Harmon, it makes me sound like you're a grinder. You're a guy who likes a tough tournament. Is that right?
I don't like them. I just seem to be able to come up with 5. So
nothing to sneeze at there. I mean, that's a big deal. I think a lot of fans don't realize how important it is to catch 5 fish every day, if you possibly can, get 5 in the boat, because until you've got number 5 in the boat, everything is going to that bottom line.
Yes.
And when you don't get 5 in the boat, as you found out and as you know well from years and years of professional fishing, but that's frustrating. You feel like you left something on the table.
Yes, sir. It's very important. So I lost $500,000 because I didn't have my 5th one in the boat. So
that's obviously you're talking about the Forest Wood Cup.
Yes, by 3 ounces. So.
Ouch.
And I only had 4 that day. And I lost the fish. I saw the fish the day before come up and chase my crankbait and and it was all on camera. I hooked him. He just came up the wrong side of the log and hit a little twig sticking off and popped the crankbait out of his mouth. So, but also, if I'd have known it, I probably could have caught a 12-incher if I would have picked up a 4-inch worm and fished that way, but I thought I needed 2.5 more pounds, so I was okay with it. I mean, I was fishing to win, so not.
And that's one of the things about professional bass fishing that I think separates it from a lot of other sports. I mean, there are not many sports where you're out there competing and you have no idea what the score is.
No idea.
And sometimes I think that's really cool, and sometimes I think that's taking away maybe some strategy.
You know, if I'd have picked up a 4-inch worm and not caught that 12-incher, I would have felt like I was laying up on the 18th hole.
What a great analogy.
Not go for the win. So
what a great analogy.
So I can live with the fact that I was fishing the way I thought I needed to win. So,
and that ties into something else that I want to talk about in a minute. But first, let's go a little bit into your strengths and your fishing style. One of my favorite questions I ask on Roundtable, Harmon, is please describe your fishing style in a word or two, and you cannot use the word versatile.
Fast.
Okay. I don't ordinarily associate that with fast fishing.
I flip fast. I cover a lot of water, but honestly, my favorite way is probably when I can put a buzzbait in my hand and go, and then stop and just flip certain things, or stop on certain bedfish, stuff like that. But a buzzbait, a chatterbait, a square bill, something like that, I just feel, I don't know. That's when I do my best, is the more water I cover. So
I love that approach. I think that a lot of guys who have been wildly successful take that approach. Rather than trying to catch every fish in an area, they go in and try to catch every fish that's ready to eat.
I don't want to catch smart ones. I'll lose catching smart ones. I want to catch 5 big dumb ones a day. That's the goal. And you know, it's the more casts you make, the more productive areas, the better the odds are you're going to make that. So.
And you feel like a chatterbait, a buzz bait, something like that, a moving bait, a horizontal bait gives you a great opportunity to do that.
Yes.
But you're picking up the flipping stick to make a precise
cat pitch, yes. Or even like in Oklahoma when the water's in the bushes and stuff, I'll flip 3 times the amount of bushes that most people will. I'm not going to sit there and shake them and shake it and try to convince them to bite. They're going to bite it on the drop or one hop, or they're, you know. And I flip a big jig a lot, 1/2 ounce up to a 1 ounce jig, even in you know, bushes and stuff.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, that's a great point, because every expert pitcher flipper I've ever talked to through the years, and I've talked to, you know, the Browers and the Biffles and the Hackneys and the Harmon Davises, they all tell me the same thing, and that is that 85-90% of your bites come on that initial fall. Mm-hmm. So it really does make a lot of sense to maybe bounce that bait one time after that and get it out there and make another pitch.
Yes, and, you know, a big bait comes crashing through there. A big fish is more likely to bite it, you know, just from the reaction of it falling through the bush as opposed to, you know, a slow sink. And there are times early in the year, you know, pre-spawn and stuff, sometimes you do have to go with a lighter jig. So,
is that the mistake that you see most guys make when they're pitching and flipping? You think they spend too much time with their bait soaking there and hopping or crawling it back?
Yes, they don't make enough presentations in a day.
I love that theory. I love that application. It does mean that your bait is out of the water a lot, but when it is in the water, I guess it's always in the strike zone.
It's not out of the water a lot. It's just not sitting there. It's going in and out. So.
Okay, makes sense. We'd have to get a stopwatch on that. That'd be cool too. Okay, I love that theory. So I love that you're pitching and flipping, but you're doing it very fast. I think that's a neat approach, and it makes sense that would be very successful. What would you say that's a strength of yours? And when we did an interview for a story that's online at the NPFL website about the 10-pound 9-ounce bass you caught at Santee Cooper, you gave me a wonderful tip that I thought was so cool. You said, "Do what you're good at."
Yes.
And you mentioned that you feel really confident when you've got that flipping stick in your hand.
Yes, being away for all the years I was away. I'm a big fan of the sport. I consume everything I can about it. There's certain guys that I just have a ton of respect for. And I don't know. I think back when I fished the tour, I got too caught up in the dock talk and, you know, where you're at, what you got to do and all that. And I I just went through my boat just a minute ago, and I've narrowed it down a lot, and I just took 2/3 of everything in my boat back out again. So because I'm getting too much stuff in there. I mean, there's just certain colors of baits I'm going to throw and a certain way I'm going to fish. I'm not going to come to Lake Norman and throw a spinning rod with a shaky head on it. I'm just not going to do it.
Okay.
It's just not the way I fish.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of pros that you and I know, they hit the water. They've got 30 or more combos in the rod locker. They might have 15 rods on the deck.
I do that too. They're just all bait casters.
Okay. Hey man, you sound like a Florida fisherman to me. But you know, when you launch tomorrow, day one here at Stop 2 on Lake Norman in North Carolina, when you launch on day one tomorrow after 3 full days of practice, how many rods are you going to have on the deck?
Probably 5.
5 doesn't seem like a lot.
No, and 2 of them will have the same bait, and the other 3 are basically the same bait, just different colors. So.
Well, I don't want to go too deep here. Not looking for you to give anything away.
Those 3 will all be sap fishing rods, and the other 2 I'll just be covering water with. So
okay, gotcha. So, are any of them going to be that? We spoke earlier. I know that your favorite bait is a 1/2 ounce dirty jigs jig that you can pitch and flip.
I'm not flipping a jig here, so.
So you're not gonna have a flipping stick on the deck at all.
I'm gonna have 3 flipping sticks, but they're all gonna be soft
for sight
plastics
fishing.
for sight fishing.
Gotcha, for sight fishing.
I haven't been able to catch anything. Well, I've caught a few on a brush hog, but just covering water and then finding one to stop and fish for. That's been what my whole practice has been about.
Now, I realized that over the course of the day, how big a fish might need to be before you stop and fish for him is going to change depending on how many are in the well and things like that. But on Lake Norman this week, what's a big enough fish to stop on? Has he got to be 3 or better?
Anything over 3 pounds, so you definitely want to stop and fish for. So, you know, and if you're struggling to have a limit, then yes, you're going to just get them when you. But I think I can catch it. I'm going to catch limit just covering water, so the upgrades will come top fishing. And some of the bites I'm getting moving are good ones too. So
that's right. I've talked to a lot of guys, including some guys who have spent a lot of time out here through the years, grew up around here, fished here their whole life. And the number that I'm hearing as far as what it might take to win is somewhere between 45 and maybe 48 pounds. Is that what you think as well?
Exactly what I said before we came. Somebody's going to catch 18, 19 the first day, 15 and a half the next day, and 13 and a half to 14 will win. You know.
And there's going to be just a dense knot of guys who are going to have, say, 8 to 11 pounds.
If you catch 12 pounds a day, I might not get paid here. So.
Right. Now to me, that makes it exciting. As a fan of the sport who's watching the leaderboard move up and down, we could have a tournament where on the final day, since everybody fishes all 3 days here at the NPFL, we could have a tournament where there are 20 guys in contention to win, maybe 25. And that 1 4-pounder, or if the heavens open up, a 5-pounder makes all the difference in the world.
Huge difference. So, yeah, that was a little bit like at Santee. I mean, I told you, one of my weakness in fishing is being stubborn, and that's kind of what happened to me at Santee. Was I'd pulled in a pocket the last day of practice late, and there was 5 good ones on beds, and they were locked up. They just moved up. They were 1 flip fish, and I just told myself, if I get an early boat draw, I've got to start on them.
Yeah,
and try to blind fish for them. Well, I draw boat 1, so I got stubborn and not thinking about the wind, what the wind would have done to the water on the day we were, we had an off day and then that day, and we had 2 days and then it was 40 degrees that morning.
Yeah. You wind up with 2 off days.
2 off days. The winds have blown everything around and it's cold. And I ran down there and like a very stubborn angler, and I wasted an hour. But
you had to do it. You had no choice but to do it. Yes. Especially when you saw 5 giants on the bed and you felt like they were going to be ready. And
yes.
And that I'm all over the place in our conversation, Harmon. I apologize for that. But what do you think of the off day? You like the off days? You don't like the off days?
At 52 years old, I like the off day.
Man, I'm 62. I love the off day.
I will say this tournament, I'm glad we don't have an off day because things are changing fast.
Yeah.
And once again, we've got wind that's changing things, and it's just on the moon and everything. Every day's a different day right now. So,
bringing up another great point here. We've got fish in all stages of the spawn this week. We got pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn fish. Are you targeting one aspect of that, or are you?
Not really. I'm just covering water and whatever. I've caught pre-spawn, spawn, I've seen a lot of bedfish, and I've caught post-spawn fish too. So
Does that, we talked a little bit before the show about how you feel good about being able to go out there and catch a limit each day. Do you like the grinder tournaments?
I do. It's just part of being from Oklahoma. So most of the year in Oklahoma, it's a grind. It just is. It's just the way Oklahoma's always been: shallow, dirty water. And, there's certain times of the year where it's easy, but most of the time it's tough. So that's kind of just, most Oklahoma fishermen you see will do good in those types of tournaments. So, and then Jason Christie goes and
Jason Christie's pretty good.
He's very good.
He's not, and he is an outstanding shallow water angler, of course. Tommy Biffle, an amazing shallow water guy. A lot of Oklahoma talent in this tournament. But what blows me away about this Lake Norman event is there are 20 anglers in the field from North Carolina. There are 13 from South Carolina, and at least 10 or 12 of those guys call Lake Norman home. I think you may be fishing against more local expertise this week than at any other national tournament I've ever seen or heard of.
I agree with that. What can be the great neutralizer is spawning fish, though.
Gotcha.
And if the big spots, I don't know how big the spots are here. I mean, as far as limits go and stuff, but if they catch if you can find some big fat pre-spawn fish out there deeper, then yes, they're going to outweigh mixing in some post-spawn fish. That's the only thing I don't like about I'm catching post-spawn fish also. So they just don't weigh as well.
Well, I think you bring a cool perspective to it. I love your attitude about fishing or flipping very fast. I think that just makes so much sense. And I love that you're starting the day with just 5 rods on the deck. That seemed awfully focused to me. You had 3 days out there like most everybody else. Were you able to accomplish as much as you wanted to through practice?
I really did. The first day, I'd already kind of looked in an area of the lake. I've been here, it was years ago, an FLW tour event, but I'd kind of picked out a section of the lake I wanted to start in, and I just got really comfortable in it, and I've spent all 3 days in that general area, which this place, it's not a lot of acres, but there is a
fish is big
of water here.
And fish is big.
I mean, you can spend a whole day in a creek off of a creek. And it's crazy how much water there is.
If you like boat docks, you got 1 million of them. If you like points, you got thousands of them, it seems like.
And everybody's GPS looks like this. It's in and out of boat docks. I've been very stubborn about going to lithium batteries, and I did before this tournament, and I'm so thankful I did. It's amazing how much difference it makes. Yeah,
I'm talking to the pros out here who are using lithium batteries of various brands. I think that's not the technology of the future. That's the technology of right now.
You better have them, or you're behind.
And they're talking about having hours on that foot control pedal, and then they check the level of charge, and they're still at 80% at the end of the day or something like that. So
I ran mine down in the 50s, so I stand on it though.
Yeah,
I just got done rebuilding my troll motor mount right before I came over here because I broke the mount on it. So
I appreciate you coming out here. I hope you didn't sacrifice any prep time.
I got it done. So.
Excellent. Now, one of the fun things we talked about earlier that I want everybody at home to learn about too, because I think it's a lot of fun, is you're a pretty superstitious angler.
Very superstitious. Not just angler, just everything.
Really, everything. Okay.
Yes.
Because I get to talk to a lot of the NPFL pros, and recently I've asked them specifically about superstitions, and I'll bet you that 90% of them have told me they have no superstitions. Now, first of all, Harmon, I don't believe them. I think they probably have a superstition or two. They're just not willing to share it.
Fishermen are liars too, Ken. You do that.
As I've heard, but I ask you, and you blew me away because you said, "Oh yeah, I got a lot of superstitions." Okay. Tell me about some of them.
If I catch them tomorrow, I will eat whatever I ate tonight. I will gas up at the same gas station. I will go through the same exact routine, and I will do it as long as I'm catching them. That's just.
Will it go as far as the same clothes?
No, I will change clothes. I don't do that. I might wear the same shirt. I'll wear the same hoodie.
Because I've known guys who would not change
Yeah, I'm not wearing the same underwear. That's a little too much. So
good for you. And by the way, even if that's not accurate, I appreciate your telling us that that you wouldn't
I just
do that.
know some guys say they do that, and I'm not going that far. So
there's a very famous BASS Angler of the Year about 25 years ago, who was famous for wearing the same.
No.
Yeah, his entire AOI season.
Black cats, anything like that? Yes, no. So if I'm late at takeoff, it's probably because a black cat made it across the road in front of me, and
you had to reroute.
I had to reroute.
There you go.
Not starting my day that way.
Bananas?
I won't put them in the boat. I'll eat. I've got them in my room. I just won't put them in the boat. So
fair enough. I like that. I love bananas. I've known a lot of Bass pros who like to play jokes on their buddies on tour, and I know you've got.
We used to do that to Andre Moore. So he owns Reaction Innovations, but
yeah.
Oh man, he'd get so mad because we'd hide one somewhere in his boat, put in his live well or something. Oh, he would get so mad at us, but he never sunk. So
yeah, the banana in a dry box somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I think it was before Paul Elias won his Bassmaster Classic in 1982. I believe Denny Brower got a hold of his cap somehow and wrote the number 13 under the bill because he knew Elias was superstitious about that. I mean, just stuff that if the guy hadn't won and then finds out about it, that there may have been a murder on the tournament trail.
It can get ugly. I was telling you a story. We were talking about it earlier. There was an Everstart back in the day. My roommate and I, Chris McCall, we ended up finishing first and second in the tournament. That was one of the toughest tournaments. We practiced together in the same boat for 3 days and never had a bite. The Mississippi River was 16 foot high. Everybody said, wait till the water starts falling, it'll get good. And nowhere have I ever seen that happen. But
falling water is usually not a great sign.
On the river, though, from the time the tournament started till the last day, the trees out. We figured out if you could find a willow tree in 13 foot of water, you'd get bit on it. But the water fell 7 foot in 3 days. But anyway, the point of that story was we ate at the same restaurant, ordered the same food every single night, unloaded at the same ramp. And the last day, they weren't going to let us unload at the little ramp we had been unloading on. And we had to have a whole big old blown up meeting with the FLW people. And then as long as we had somebody bring our trucks and trailers after we unloaded, they let us get away with it. And we ended up first and second. And I was first, so.
That's a great story. And it really does tell how far you take your superstitions and your rituals. Maybe as much as superstitious, you're very much into the ritual thing.
Control the controllables.
There you go. And I like that. So, okay, if you go out tomorrow and you take a lead in this tournament, you're going to do the same things you did tonight with regard to eating and gassing up and stuff like that.
We might have to do another roundtable.
If we have to, I'm here for you, okay. Harmon. I'm here for you. But how do you go about selecting where you're doing things today before the tournament starts? Is it just random chance, or are you?
I'm a creature of habit. When I find things that are comfortable, like a little hotel that I'm staying at, super comfortable there. I found a gas station that I go to every morning. There's a Jersey Mike's up there, and you can never go wrong with Jersey Mike's.
Can't go wrong with Jersey Mike's.
I'm a creature of habit, and I'm that way at home even. There's only my wife laughs at me all the time because I only order certain things at certain restaurants because if it's good, why change?
Well, I'm that way, but I don't associate it with good fortune. I just say, I know I like that. I'm not willing to take a chance on this other thing.
Just a creature of habit. It's all. The creature of habit kind of falls into the superstition thing.
Do you have to have a certain rod on this side of the deck and versus that side of the deck or anything like that?
Not really. I'm not that bad. So,
okay. Well,
and then once I'm on the water, it's all out the window. So,
I love it, Harmon Davis. That's very cool. I love the superstitions. I love that you own up to them. Because I am convinced that all these people who told me they had no superstitions, I'm convinced that some of them were just saying that because they didn't want to look like they're, fallen victim to their own habits and stuff like that. But that's really good stuff. I promise
if they have a good day, they go back and repeat things.
I believe it. Yes. I absolutely believe it. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you tempt fate?
It worked the day before, so why not keep it working? So
I'm with you, man. I think that's absolutely right. All right. Prediction. You said you think that if Brad Fuller suddenly gave me the power to give you 45 pounds, would you sleep in, or would you still want to go out there and fish?
45 would be tough.
15 a day, like clockwork every day.
Yeah, I'd probably stay home.
That's a cutoff. I don't know why. I'm hoping it's going to take a little bit more than that. But I think
it will.
I think the fun in this tournament is going to be how tight it is, how close.
But to see that 45 would make up for my 49th and put me in a really good position.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'd rather win. So ask me that question after tomorrow, and we'll see.
I'll seeing
probably have a different answer tomorrow.
When you come off the weigh-in stage, I'll be right there to shake your hand and ask you how it went. I'll probably see how it went because you'll weigh in like 27.9. What do you think?
That's not going to happen, but
we don't know that. We don't know that, Harmon Davis.
I just hope there's a team, high side of the teens is what I'm hoping.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Well, I'm rooting for you, man. Thank you so much for spending some time with us on Roundtable. Harmon Davis, go get him on Lake Norman, brother.
Thank you, Ken.
Appreciate you. I got another guest, folks. And if you haven't met this man, he is a local expert, a local legend. He's got his own podcast we're going to talk about. And he's one of those guys who told me he has no superstitions. So we're going to have to get into that. This, ladies and gentlemen, Scott Hamrick is with me here. Scott, welcome to Roundtable.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely my pleasure. I have so much enjoyed the conversations we've shared. You're a lot of fun. You've got a cool, interesting angle on everything you do in the world of bass fishing. You've got a cool podcast that I want us to talk about in a little bit. And you're absolutely a hammer on Lake Norman.
All that.
No, you've won some tournaments out here. I've checked your record. You've won them all over, but in particular, you are awfully good here. You're awfully good at Wiley. You're awfully good at a lot of local water.
Yep. Around here pretty much. Yeah, Kerr. I like Kerr. High Rock. Yep.
Yes. Yes, you've done really, really well. How long have you been fishing Lake Norman?
Pretty much all my life, probably. I mean, I grew up. We had a place here when I was growing up, and actually moved here when I was grown up. But we always had a place here. I mean, I didn't have a bass boat when I was young, but seriously, I had a bass boat probably since back in the early '90s, maybe.
Okay, so
yep.
We're talking about 25 years of being out there with some good equipment.
Yeah, probably close
chasing
to 35.
Bass. Okay, 35. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm doing some bad math, aren't I? 30 years.
You're doing math for where I went.
35
to
years.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I'm older than you. I've
Not
been using
much.
old school math. But this is Scott Hamrick's second year with the NPFL. He's got a couple of hundred events with FLW, now MLF. He's got 5 BFL wins. He's got wins on other circuits. He's fished a number of BASS events. And Scott, I want people to get to know you, though, for your fishing style first. I'm going to ask you my favorite question.
Go ahead.
You got to wait for me here.
Okay.
And that is, give me a description of your fishing style in a couple of words. You're not allowed to use the word versatile.
Shallow power fisherman, pretty much.
Shallow power fishing. I like it.
Yep.
And that describes a lot of guys. Now, when you say a power fisherman, are you talking about pitcher flipper style power fisherman? Are you talking about moving baits, spinner baits, buzz baits, square bills?
Jig fisherman, pretty much. And spinner bait, like big spinner bait, heavy spinner bait, chatter bait, top water.
So you like the moving stuff.
Yep. But I've won a lot of money on Lake Norman using the wife's rod too, but I'm probably not even gonna have that. I'm not even gonna have that on the deck this week. I'm gonna go for the gusto. I'm gonna either hero or zero, I think.
The wife's rod, would that be a spinning outfit?
That would be a spinning rod, yes, sir.
I hear. Now, in a lake that's so, is it fair to say dominated by spotted bass? Is that fair?
No. Largemouth's really picked up here in the last couple of years. I don't know if it's the stocking program they have. I don't know if they're F1s. I don't know the difference. But you can get a 20-pound bag of spots here.
That's impressive.
I've seen it done a few times. Yeah,
that's impressive. I spent a lot of time around Lake Lanier, which back in the 60s and early 70s was a largemouth lake. Caught largemouth there over 17 pounds in the 60s out of Lanier. But as the lake got clearer and less fertile, spotted bass started to take over. Is that kind of what has happened here? Because I know back in the 80s, this is more of a largemouth lake.
Well, I can tell you back in the late 70s and 80s, they called it the Dead Sea. It was full of largemouth, but they were all little skinny largemouth. If you had 9 pounds, you had a shot to win.
Ooh,
and
that's
then
brutal.
And then the spotted bass started showing up in the early 2000s, and since the spotted bats had, they start breeding with the largemouth, so they become mixed, so they get big. So I mean, we've caught a lot of 4 to 5 pound spots.
So a guy can win here this week.
With spots, definitely.
Totally spots.
Totally spots. He can, but they won't, because I mean they're on the bed. There's going to be some good largemouth weight in.
And a spot will spawn quite a bit deeper than a largemouth will, for the most part, if the water's clear enough.
Well, like you say, they mix with the largemouth. They start acting like largemouth, a lot of them. So it's just hard to say. I think, I don't know if this thing's going to be one bed fishing. It could be, but the biggest population of the first spawn, I think that's when the bigger ones were on bed, and the waters come up. I don't know if they can see them as good either. I don't know, but I just don't. I mean, I've looked around. I hadn't hardly seen any bedding fish, but I know they're on the bed. I've heard people say they've seen them on the bed, but I've not heard nobody saying they've seen a lot of big ones on the bed.
Gotcha. It seems unlikely that the bed fish would hold up for 3 days.
That's a hard thing to do, 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, any pattern's hard to hold up, but when you're looking for a fish, I mean, and you're not finding a lot of big ones, well, you're gonna have to really have a lot. I mean, usually to do good in a 1 day bedding fishing tournament, you got to have probably about 50 marked out.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna get many of them. So it's just I totally despise bed fishing because I don't have patience. But I mean, we fished a tournament a couple weeks ago, and that's the only way you can get bit. So we did bed fish, and we'd come in third, but it's not my forte. I don't have the patience for it.
Well, you're awfully good out here, and it surprises me on a body of water that has as many spots as Lake Norman does that you don't spend more time with a spinning rod and a finesse worm.
Well, that's what I was telling you. Back 20 years ago, you didn't need but one thing, and that was a jig. That's pretty much all you really needed most of the time. Fish boat docks with the jig. But as the spots have taken over, yeah, it has changed, and we've caught a lot of big bags with the spinning reel, in after the spawn. Once
Right.
they start moving off the spawn, we'll catch a lot of big bags doing that with the spinning reel. Don't even pick up the bait caster anymore. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, that's not what I like to do, but
Now, how many rods are you going to have on the deck when this thing kicks off tomorrow morning?
one. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll probably have. I think I got 2 jigs, a chatterbait, and a spinner bait, and a buzz bait. I think that's 5. I got 5 rods out.
That's hardcore power stuff there.
I'm telling you, I'm either going hero or zero.
Swinging for the
how
fence.
It's gonna be. That's right.
I like it.
Yep. I mean, the most we used to have back when we had COVID, that nobody was having tournaments. We had like pickup tournaments here, and it was the who's who around here was fishing them. I mean, Thrift,
Hank Cherry, Brian
Lineberger.
Thrift, Shane.
We had a
Ledoux,
bunch of them, and
Shane Lineberger.
it was just we fished one here this time of year, and me and my partner we had a 22-pound bag. So it can be done, but I don't see it being done this week though. It's just if it was 2 weeks from now, it'd be a lot better, I think.
Now, when I look at this body of water at this time of year, obviously they're fishing all 3 stages of the spawn. You got some fish that haven't spawned yet, some fish that'll be on the bed, some fish, maybe a lot of fish that are post-spawn. What phase are most of the fish in right now?
Well, this lake's funny because it has hot holes in it. So down the lower end, down there where we're going out of Ramsey, they're pretty much bedded out down there because they start bedding down there in February.
That's shocking
And
to me
it
because
starts working its way up the lake. And you used to have a steam station up there. I used to pump a lot of hot water up there, but I don't know if that thing pumps that much hot water out anymore like it used to. So it isn't as big a deal. But it used to they'd bed up there, and then they'd kind of work together, but then it'd work up the river. So
that's weird to me, Scott, because you look at most reservoirs in the U.S. and the first the part of the lake that warms up the first is usually the northwest section. And then it spreads, and the last part of the lake to warm up is usually the southeast, which is where this derby will launch from.
Well, that's just the opposite.
But it's the
here.
opposite here.
Well, you have the nuclear plant, and it pumps hot water out constantly. Yeah. And the way it pumps it out straight towards Ramsey Creek. So it pumps it into Ramsey Creek. So the water stays at least 5 to 6 degrees warmer in there year round usually.
Yeah, that turns the whole thing upside down.
And in the summertime, I mean, you go down there to be in the 90s. So it's just hard to.
Is this a homer lake, a lake where it really is a massive advantage to have a lot of experience?
Not right now, I wouldn't think. Right now, it's kind of the worst nightmare for a local because it's a bed fest. But
gotcha.
Like I said, I don't think it's going to be one off the bed, but it could be.
More tough questions that are probably not fair for you, Scott Hamrick. Is this going to be a pattern tournament, or is it going to be a location tournament?
Oh, well, I hope it's a pattern tournament. I hope it's a pattern tournament for me, but like I said, it's kind of been hit and miss on that. It is a good pattern lake. Like if you figure out something, you can run with it here, but it's just right now. I mean, everybody I talk to, they're catching a lot of fish, but there's nobody catching really a lot of decent fish. If you know what I mean. So
I hear you. And a decent fish is what, 3 pounds?
Yeah, 3+. Yeah. Yep.
I am absolutely fascinated by the amount of local talent in this field. Maybe you heard me say it earlier. I cannot think of a national tournament on a major trail that had so much local talent in it as this one. And you're a big part of that local talent.
Yeah, I mean, Lake Norman's got a lot of hammers around here. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Nobody dominates around here. I mean, there's some people do better than others, but it's a lake that nobody really dominates. Somebody really get on a little streak, but nobody's going to dominate.
Another unfair question for Scott Hamrick. I love asking questions that aren't fair. I don't want you to predict the winning weight yet. I'll get to that. I want you to tell me how many locals are going to finish in the top 20.
I would say 4, maybe.
Just 4?
I mean, you got to realize this is my local lake. Okay, I've won. I don't know how much money.
Dozens and dozens of derbies out here.
Oh yeah. But you get in a tournament like this, it's a lot of pressure on you people. Everybody thinks you're going to win. everybody thinks you're going to be right up there, and everybody's putting their money on you, and it's a lot of pressure. And then you got the factor of so much. And you want to jump around and do so many different things. I have to fight that, so I'm gonna try not to do that in this one. But like I said, I'm just gonna go for the win. So,
and I think I totally know what you're talking about that home lake factor. To some degree, it's a lot better to launch on a body of water you maybe have never seen before. But after practice, you've got 5 spots.
Yeah, you don't know nowhere to be able to run around like a chicken with your head cut off. It's different if you're fishing a 1-day tournaments and stuff, but a 3-day tournament, you got to,
if you're Scott Hamrick, you launch knowing 500 places you've caught them in the past.
Probably more than that.
And my problem would be I'm casting over here, I'm working this area, but my head is 2 stops down the lake. And
thinking about your next cast,
stop.
not the cast you're making there. You're thinking about where you're going next. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've had that happen in the past, but like I said, I'm gonna try not to do that in this one. But I'm trying to run a pattern. I got 2 different patterns, and hopefully it'll work.
All right, you're telling me you got a chatterbait, you got a couple of jigs.
Yep.
Did you say a spinnerbait?
Spinnerbait
and a crankbait, shallow crankbait?
No.
What was it? What was the other one? Buzzbait. Okay.
Yep.
So I don't know. I may be wildly wrong, but that sounds like you're going to spend a lot of time in 5 feet of water and less.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly? What are you talking about? Possibly. Come on.
Sometimes it might be a little deeper than that, but
are you crawling that buzzbait in 20 feet? Is that what you're doing?
Well, not the buzzbait. I mean, the buzzbaits, you're going to throw it at the bank, but I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do.
I hear you.
Yeah.
In terms of place of finish, what's a good tournament for Scott Hamrick this week?
I'd love to be in the top 20.
That does not seem like an incredibly lofty goal for somebody with your skill and experience.
I don't want to say. I mean, I'd be ecstatic to be in the top 5, but
yeah,
realistically,
I get that.
I'd be happy with the top 20.
Now, you're an absolute local expert here. What's it going to take to win?
I say between 44 and 46.
That's a pretty narrow range. You got to be you really know your stuff. So if Brad Fuller, president of the NPFL, said that I could give you 45 pounds, would you just take it and sleep in?
I'd take it. I'd take it and take my chances. I mean, it's just going to be hard for somebody to – I ain't saying somebody can catch a big weight one day. But, I mean, just take – okay, well, last year, or it was the year before last, whatever, the BFL was here for the Super Tournament. Well, the first day I had 18.5, which was a load. This is in September, which is a load.
Weights
and
are
everybody's
down
like, oh, you won this, it's over because you got to fish 2 days. You won this, it's over, you won. I said, no. I said, because I knew what the weather was coming. I knew what was going to happen. I said, I'll be lucky to have 10 pounds tomorrow, and I hope that's enough. And I had right at 11 pounds. I mean, I knew what was coming.
And you got it done?
Nope. Come in second. Got beat.
That's brutal. Now, when fish turn off on the weather that quickly, you talked about some Florida genetics earlier. That, to me, screams Florida genetics.
Yeah, I don't think that has a lot to do because the spotted bass, there ain't no Florida.
There are
genetics.
no Floridas in there. Yeah, there are no Floridas in there.
I mean, you don't have to catch largemouth to have a big weight on this lake.
And when I think of spotted bass, I think of a fish that's always pecking, always eating. But you're a power guy. You're fishing for the better quality fish. You're not out there dragging a watermelon finesse worm. I
mean, these fish on this lake act like largemouth. The spots do. I mean, there is the smaller kind of spots like you see in these other lakes, but the ones that get big, they're mixed with largemouth, and they kind of act like a largemouth, and they cruise the bank. They go in wolf packs and all kinds of stuff, and they get on the bed with the largemouth or without the largemouth. So
they're spawning that shallow. The spots are spawning
some. But I'm like you, though. A lot of the bigger ones probably bed a little bit deeper. And this water's come up, too. So if they would get ready to go on the bed, they might be bedding just even deeper now. I don't know.
What's the water clarity out there like? Because
anywhere from stain to crystal clear.
Okay.
I mean, Ramsey Creek is like you could put it in the glass. You could put the water in a glass, and you'd think it was drinking water. That's how clear it is down there right now.
All right.
And it's got a lot of eelgrass in there now, and so I think that kind of helps filter it out. And then we had a lot of rain either. So
of course, eelgrass is just about the best habitat I can think of for spawning fish.
Yeah, that's right. But we're talking about Ramsey Creek. They done bedded out in Ramsey Creek.
Okay, that's right, because it's got that hot hot water discharge.
Yeah, they've been bedding since February in Ramsey Creek. So
what an interesting fishery you got here. You got all kinds. You got spawners this far north in February, and you got all 3 stages of the spawn right now. You got largemouths, you got spots, you even got a handful of smallmouths, but I don't think we're expecting to see.
No, you won't see no smallmouth. I mean, you might see a mean mouth wade in or something. I mean, just something odd like that. But I think I've ever weighed in one. It was a mean mouth or smallmouth. I don't know which one it was. It was 3 something, but I mean, that was the only one I've ever weighed in. So, and I've been fishing this lake forever. So,
what's a daily big fish look like here this week?
Usually around a 5 something to get it. Okay. But I mean, there have been 6s and 7s, and
I got a theory that I'm going to run by you, and I've done a lot of research on this, and it holds true 99% of the time. Going into the final day with a 5-fish limit, if you're trailing by more than the weight of daily big fish, you're out. You're done.
Well, it makes sense.
So that means that anybody within, say, 5 pounds, well, just to use a round number, anybody within 5 pounds of the lead going into Friday, still theoretically in the hunt.
Say I'm down 5 pounds. I probably would take if I could go out and catch a 5-pounder my first cast. I think I'd take my chances.
Well, I hear you. But then you're playing. But then you're essentially playing with a 4-fish limit at that point.
That's right.
That's your challenge now.
That's right.
Because you better do 15 pounds with those 4.
Yep.
To keep up.
I doubt you'd have to have that much, but maybe 13.
Yeah. I love this strategy question for a guy with your experience and success. Where do you want to be on going into day 3?
I want to go out boat number 1
in first place.
Yeah.
Obviously with a 12-pound lead, right?
Well, I mean, I'd rather have like a 35-pound lead, like
Kyle Welcher.
Like Kyle Welcher. I mean, he can do it, so why couldn't I? I mean, the bad thing about it is what he beat those guys by in 4 days, since it would win this tournament probably.
Yeah, he won by 45
Yeah,
pounds.
that's right. That's unbelievable, man.
He's
a good guy, though. I'm glad he did it.
Yeah.
He don't have to use the forward-facing sonar. He's good either way. But, I mean, everybody knows that nobody would have caught that kind of weights at that place without the forward-facing sonar. Not with
the water clarity and catching them on the bed when you're not actually looking at them.
It's got them, though. I mean, there would have been some good bags weighed in, but nobody would have put a beating on nobody without that. I mean, he had it dialed in, and, man, he was on them.
That's the biggest beatdown I can think of since 1970. It's the record, well, it is the Elite Series record. It is the BASS record. But in 1977 or 78, Dave Glebe, one of the early flippers, protege of D. Thomas, went to Okeechobee, and he had 95 pounds over 3 days, 7 fish limit. Second place was 52 or 53. So the difference, it wasn't a 45-pound gap, but it was percentage-wise a bigger gap.
Gotcha.
And
you say it was a 3-day tournament?
3-day tournament instead of 4.
Yeah.
And second place in that tournament was Roland Martin. And the only reason Roland Martin came within 42 pounds of Glebe was because that was back in the old pro on pro days. And Glebe and Martin drew each other out on day 1. And that was the day Roland Martin learned how to flip.
He taught him something, didn't he?
Taught him something, yeah.
I mean, I don't know whoever came up with that back when Bass started. Whoever came up with putting boat on boat draws the whole field. All you're doing is setting up a fight.
Well, yeah, I mean but that was interesting.
You couldn't do that nowadays.
I was just a kid then. You were just a kid then, and I think that it was a fascinating time. Oh, come on.
What year was it?
That was 78 or 77.
Yeah, I was probably in junior high school.
You were just a kid.
Yeah.
I was a little bit older. I'm a couple of years older than Scott is, but I think that was fascinating. These guys had to flip a coin sometime to decide whose boat they were going to be in.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You're just setting up a fight, man.
There's that, but the other thing is that was the way a lot of information moved around in the world of professional fishing. If because another pro is not going to be in the boat with Scott Hamrick this week, there's not going to be another pro who's going to learn what he's doing. He's going to be able to keep that under
unless
wraps.
you have a camera in your boat.
Unless you have a camera in your boat, and if you have a camera in your boat, man, I'm going to encourage him to get right on.
That's probably why I'm not going to catch him too good. The more I really don't want a camera in my boat. I'm gonna take it easy and I'm gonna try to come in with like 11 pounds.
You want to lay back in about 6th or 7th place going to the final day.
Yeah, and then lay the hammer down on him, bringing that 25-pound bag. Yeah,
I'm expecting that.
Man brings in a 25-pound in this pond, he's done something.
I think the guy brings in 25 pounds anywhere. Santee Cooper, Amistad, Fork, Falcon. That's a big bag.
But I mean, Santee is pretty common.
It happens there for sure, doesn't it? We saw some 30s when we were there a month ago.
Yeah.
Second year with NPFL. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
What are your goals this year?
Well, same as last year, make the championship. So I squeezed in and made it last year, so I'm pretty proud of that for being my first year, and had a couple bad tournaments that not terrible, but a couple of tournaments where I had some mishaps, could have done better, but that's how it is.
Well, and not only that, but you qualified for a championship in October on Hartwell.
Yep.
And Hartwell's got to be a bit similar to this, right?
I mean, I feel good about going to Hartwell that time of year, but I don't know if you can beat scoping down there that time of year. It's going to be hard.
That's right. I forget.
Because you'll bit of scoping that one.
That will be a scoping tournament because, of course, NPFL is going to allow the guys to fish that championship on the same rules that they qualify.
Which that's only fair.
I mean,
you have to do that, but I mean, I feel like I've caught I can catch them pretty good down there, but you can catch them one day. I mean, they're doing it 3 days. It's going to be hard to do it 3 days shallow. It really is down there.
I like your chances.
Well, I hope you're right, sir. I'm going to give it my best shot. I mean, everybody gets paid, so it's gonna be fishing on house money.
Yeah, and it's not that far from home.
No,
for you.
oh no, I like Hartwell. I like it.
Yeah, Hartwell gets a lot of bass tournaments. Neil Paul, who runs Visit Anderson down there.
Oh man, they bring in everybody.
They bring in everybody. They know how to run a tournament. They know what facilities a major tournament organization needs, and they do a spectacular job. So every bass pro like yourself has experience down in Hartwell.
Yeah, if you fish professionally or fish BFLs or anything else, you're going to go to Hartwell. And you're probably going to go to Santee. Santee's not my favorite. I always drive around it thinking I'm going to hit something. And I make bad decisions down there because I'm scared to run around.
When I was 16 years old, I sank my first bass boat at Santee Cooper. Another story for another time.
Wasn't in a windy day, was it?
It was a windy day, but that
didn't have anything to do with it.
But nah,
yeah,
hitting something had everything to do with it. All right, I look at Norman. I see all these boat docks. I know that is your strength.
If you live on Norman, it better be your strength.
Yeah. And obviously docks are going to be a factor this week.
It's probably the big factor. Yeah. I mean, even bedding fish, they're going to bed around a dock somewhere probably most of the time.
You know, in 2025, when people say fishing boat docks, they're usually not talking about boat docks. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's what James Watson says. That's pretty much what I seen. I think I seen him today. Yeah. Yeah.
When I asked you, for another interview, I said, well, what's your strength? And you said fishing boat docks. I was wondering if we were still talking about fishing.
Yeah, we was talking about fishing.
What are the odds that boat docks are going to be part of that winning pattern?
I'd say 90%.
That's high.
I think. I mean, it has to be. I mean, there ain't but about two patterns on Lake Norman: rocks and docks, and bedding fish. So there you go.
You know, if those are the three options, that's strong because we pretty well got them all this week.
It's everywhere.
It's a wide open game.
Yes, I mean, and like you say, one area. I mean, it could be one in about any area on this lake. I don't know if could be one in Ramsey. By what I seen, I mean, maybe somebody knows how to catch them, but I don't. But I don't like it when you can see the bottom in 20 foot of water.
Yeah. If they're already spawned there and it's that clear, it could be a real challenge. I want to talk about Fishing Legends Live.
Okay, let's talk about it.
That's your podcast. Tell us about Fishing Legends Live.
Well, I do it with Mike Seawright. He's a local legend around here. He's more wily down that way. But me and him got together about, 4 or 5 years ago and started it, and we didn't know where it would go, and we just did our 200 podcast. So it's
200 podcasts,
yeah,
man, that's awesome.
You run out of stuff to talk about, man.
Oh no, you don't. You're Scott Hamrick.
But let me tell you we got a philosophy. We talk about fishing, and when we run out of stuff to talk about, we talk about each other. So
that's perfect.
So it's a pretty good combination. It works out.
I got a podcast. I'm not close to running out yet. I love talking about fishing. I especially love talking about fishing with somebody who's as knowledgeable as you are, who's got a gift for it, for the conversation. I love asking questions. I love to learn. So I got an advantage there, whereas you're doing a lot of the teaching on Fishing Legends Live.
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, you can't tell everything because I got to fish against all these people that watch it. So you can't tell them everything, but you can give them tidbits here and there, you know.
No, you say, I'm going to tell you everything next week on Fishing Legends Live.
Well,
that draws
like
them in.
Like this one, you'll see it on the camera, which I doubt that'll happen. But maybe you get lucky. I'll get lucky and catch a big one tomorrow or something.
If you win the tournament, you're going to have to give it all up to me and tell them the story.
I'll take you out there and show you, man.
I love that. That's awesome. That's a deal.
Yeah.
That's a deal.
Yep.
Scott Hamrick, a pleasure, my friend.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you,
and
man.
That Fishing Legends Live's on Wednesday nights on Facebook. If y'all want to tune in, 7 o'clock on Facebook on Wednesday night. I don't know about tomorrow night because I'm not going to be here. He might have one, but definitely next week.
I might not be watching tomorrow, but I'll be watching after that.
You tune. Most people watch it. It's hardly live, but they don't watch it live. They watch it recorded. So,
I hear you.
Right,
I hear you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Roundtable. We are here at NPFL Stop number 2 on Lake Norman. We're in Huntersville, North Carolina. Launch and weigh in at Blythe Landing Park here in Huntersville. Launch is going to start around 6:45 a.m. Eastern. Wednesday, that's tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. The weigh-in starts at 3 p.m. Wednesday through Friday. Come on out, meet the pros, shake hands with Scott Hamrick, get his autograph, pick his brain about Lake Norman. Nobody knows any better than this man. Our live tournament coverage runs Thursday and Friday, just the final 2 days of the event. That is when Luke Duncan and Fat Cat Newton are going to break it down for you from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. each of those 2 days. And these guys are the best at it, folks. They are entertaining, they are educational, they are insightful. Luke and Fat Cat are the best. And don't miss the live weigh-ins with Big Al. Each competition day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, beginning at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That is when Big Al brings the boom. That's going to do it for this edition. Thank you for support of the NPFL. Don't forget to wear the pride, as we say. That's talking about wearing the NPFL apparel, like this cap, various shirts, hoodies. It's all there on the NPFL website. That's thenationalprofessionalfishingleague.com. Check it out there. Click on shop. You can see all the stuff. I love wearing it. I wear it at home. I wear it to the grocery store. I wear it all around. I'm proud to be involved with the NPFL. And if you love what we're bringing to the table, check it out. Next installment of Roundtable, May 18th from Tennessee for stop number 3 at Douglas Lake. We will catch you then.